Hey everyone, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. So I just want to have a chat with you about Snapchat. They're laying off 20% of their workers, which is just unreal. And if you've been following their story, essentially the market and Snapchat in particular has been in decline for quite a while. The gist of it is they're going to be laying off people in their gaming divisions and laying off people related to their augmented reality technology. Here's the gist, is that it takes a lot of money to invest in new technology, especially too when that technology may not be ready or profitable for, we'll say, 5-10 years, maybe longer. And you know, the money just is running out. The other thing is Apple has changed its policies in terms of ad revenue, and this has really taken a hit on social media companies. And then the last thing regarding social media companies, there's a lot of competition out there, and the rise of the one I think if you could invest, it would be something like a TikTok. I myself, full disclosure, I barely understand TikTok or Snapchat, and when I mean by barely understand it is like I see the stuff that's on TikTok and I'm just like, who's watching this stuff? And pretty frank, it's a lot of kids with short attention spans that they can only watch something for 60 seconds and it's like really dumb, and it's something like, you know, walking on milk crates or something like, you know, eating detergent. And so this is sort of the level of intelligence that we're talking about on TikTok. So it's hard for me to imagine that people find this entertaining, but I get it. You know, this is young kids do what they want. And in fact, I guess Snapchat is just the big loser of this, is that not only do you have ad revenue slowing, is that they're getting beat out by other platforms. Now, the question I want to ask you is, what does this say about other companies in the market, and what does this say about our market as a whole? So I'll give you my opinion, and I'd love to hear your opinion as well. So one, with the cost of money going up, it is difficult for companies to invest in the future. Now, as a company and as an investment, right, as we're, you know, all in the market looking for investments, we want companies that have, you know, good future prospects. The deal is though, is that oftentimes with businesses that, you know, it takes money, you got to spend money essentially to make money, but there's always risk with that. The same way as, like, say for example, you want to open up a restaurant in a, you know, hot market, or you want to open a restaurant in an area where you think there's going to be a lot of foot traffic, and suddenly, you know, for whatever reason, things change to where, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say we want to open up a hamburger restaurant, and suddenly beef goes through the roof, and beef's really expensive, and it sort of eats at your business model. So the similar kind of situation to where in the business model there, to where you want to open up a hamburger restaurant and beef costs too much, you're raising the cost of production. Similar what's going on with Snapchat, essentially the market conditions have changed to where, you know, where the idea of them making money off ad revenue has changed because Apple changed their policy. And so just sort of the fundamentals of the companies change in that regard. Also too, the idea of the augmented reality or any of their hardware devices, Snapchat is investing for the last few years a ton of money in these hardware things. Some of the stuff just doesn't work the way that they want it to, or they're just way too far away. And sometimes with these projects, you can keep throwing money into a black hole, but ultimately at the end of the day, the technology's got to work, and someone's got to be willing to buy it. And you could be having a couple problems at Snapchat to where the technology doesn't work and people in fact aren't willing to buy it, and you know, maybe your competition is going to supersede you. But be it like, if I'm going to make a bet on this kind of thing, I'm betting on Google, or I'm betting on Meta, Facebook to say have augmented goggles, augmented reality. And even then, betting on Google or Facebook, I don't even know if they can pull it off and be profitable in the next few years. I think we're a long ways away. But to be fair, say Google or a Meta, Facebook, they got a lot more cash on hand, and they're, you know, have other ways of making money, whereas something like a Snapchat is much smaller, and, you know, they're more dependent on social media, so the Apple policy affects them tremendously. One of the things I will say also too is Snapchat. I used to live in LA, so I would meet a lot of workers at Snapchat. I know people who work there at Snapchat. They had a great office in Santa Monica, which kind of tells you they paid a lot of money for their offices. I mean, it was like right on the beach. The other thing is too, is that Snapchat would routinely buy up smaller companies. So basically what people would do is they would invent some sort of, you know, technology related to something that Snapchat is doing, constantly pitch Snapchat these things, and Snapchat would be buying up all these little teams. The thing is though, you know, if you're buying up all these companies and you're buying up all these unprofitable ideas, yes, you're collecting patents, and yes, you're collecting technology, but again, you're investing for the future, which yes is fair as an investment. But if you over invest in your future and are not profitable now, and also too, if sort of the conditions change on your investment. So like, for example, let's say I want to really invest in augmented reality, but suddenly the price of chips goes through the roof, or suddenly, you know, my competitor comes out with something better. It's just not there. I'm not seeing it for Snapchat. Now, for those of you who use Snapchat, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you feel like Snapchat still has technology that is useful and that people, you know, find to be compelling. If there's a reason why I'm going to use Snapchat over, say, TikTok, Facebook, or say like a Twitter, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this thing. But I just think it talks about, or what Snapchat is laying off 20% of the workers says about the whole market is companies just can't invest in the future in that more. And also too, if the future's too far off, it's such a risky play, and investors don't want to necessarily invest in it. So it's not only just the companies can't do it, is investors aren't backing them in doing that. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these kind of things going forward. Unfortunately, and I mentioned to you guys several times, there's going to be layoffs ahead, and 20% of your workforce is quite a lot. I don't know who's next. I'm just thinking out loud. Well, Snapchat said they were reducing, I'm just thinking, but they were reducing gaming and AR. So, I mean, the obvious one would be Meta is going to be struggling. The other thing that could happen too, just talking out loud, if something like Snapchat comes down or any other sort of related companies, I could see buyouts. Like, for example, why couldn't like an Amazon or an Apple start buying out these other companies pennies on the dollar if they feel that those companies have something of value? Some of these companies are going to go completely to zero. They're just not worth anything. But there are other companies like, you could argue Snapchat is worth something because it has a user base. They have a real app, right? And so they might be subject to buyout. So there is a possibility that some of these companies that are struggling now, they're going to be so attractive that they'll get bought out and the stock will go back up again. So you haven't lost all hope, but when a company's laying off 20% of the workers, it just doesn't sound good, of course. So love to hear your thoughts on this one, and love to hear your thoughts on which companies you think are really going to struggle moving forward in this new sort of ad environment that Apple has created. And also too, do you believe in augmented reality? Do you think that Snapchat in fact has the technology, or do you think there are other companies out there, like say like a Vuzi, for example, or anything else that ARK invests, is investing in the future of this thing? Do you believe in augmented reality? Is it worth the investment? Is this one of the fields of high growth? And do you think that this Snapchat thing is an opportunity necessarily, and not necessarily time to get out? So love to hear your thoughts on that one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.